Did you know that there's a place in Montgomery County that will accept your old computers, refurbish them, and give them to families in need? Did you know that on the last Saturday of each month, a car auction of seized and abandoned vehicles is held in Gaithersburg, and the general public is invited to buy them?
12, 13, 15, now 16.
Did you know that each year more than 9,000 animals come into the Montgomery County Animal Shelter? Or that the Department of Animal Control is the place to call when your pet gets lost? Find out more on this episode of Did You Know? The Montgomery County government supports many programs and services. In today's episode of Did You Know, we're going to look at 3 of them: Project Reboot, the Abandoned Vehicles Section car auction run by the Montgomery County Police, and Animal Control Services, which includes our animal shelter.
Yeah, put it over there.
That's it.
We'll give you a receipt.
You can't talk Jerry Rosenkrantz out of doing something that he wants to do.
I retired from FEMA in 1995 on January the 3rd. I had 29 years, 11 months, and 8 days. They said, why don't you stay 2 more weeks for 30 years? And I said, no. 29 years, 11 months, and 8 days is enough. I've had it.
Jerry was absolutely convinced retirement was the way to go.
I thought I was going to sit down, have 3 cups of coffee, read the Washington Post cover to cover, and then go jogging in the afternoon. 6 weeks of that, and I was stir crazy.
So, after believing he wanted to retire, Jerry was now convinced he had to go back to work. Jerry decided to resurrect old computers and make them functional for those in need.
This particular computer has been configured for a low vision person.
Families, nonprofits, senior centers, and religious organizations that qualify for the program.
I'm here to get a computer. I read somewhere that the senior citizens they're using it a lot.
And a friend of mine said, why don't we just call it Project Reboot? So we did. We found that, the old people who have children and grandchildren who will never telephone or visit will send them an email joke a day. Over the years, which is why they want it so badly. I found that out. When we started out, we were doing probably a couple of computers a week, maybe a dozen a month. We're now processing a minimum of 200 a month, generally between 200 and 300 computers a month.
One store of choice for Project Reboot is right down the street.
This load all came from the Montgomery County Waste Transfer Station, but we are the only organization that is authorized to salvage equipment from the recycling center.
Project Reboot is located just off Route 270 on the corner of Chokecherry and Shady Grove Roads. Donations are accepted on Mondays from 1 to 5 p.m. and Wednesdays from 10 to 4. Some of the computers can be brought back to life with a simple tweak here and there.
A lot of that equipment is very good. It's functional. People throw away working computers all the time. I can't believe what they throw out. And including these laptops. Or, some cheap part goes bad and they, instead of bothering to fix it, or they get quoted a couple of $100, to hell with it, and they say to hell with it, and maybe I can show you one that's been gutted. See? They took the memory out, they took the wireless card out, they took the battery out. If we're lucky, we may have a hard drive in there. But this is what they do to most of them, and then we got to find the parts. And this is a relatively nice, it's a nice machine. If we can get it put together.
Project Reboot's volunteers are mostly retired.
I'm a retired Fed. I was in counterterrorism and emergency response at the Environmental Protection Agency.
But it doesn't mean that you need a lot of computer experience, because when it comes to loading software and putting in operating systems, it's a pretty straightforward job you can learn in a couple of weeks.
I'm not a technical person, but I like fooling around with stuff, and these gentlemen are much more knowledgeable than I am, and I enjoy doing it. It keeps me off the street, you know.
Well, I think it's the right thing to do, trying to keep stuff out of the landfill. I think it's important that we reuse some of our old equipment instead of throwing it away. And in the meantime, other people who can't afford it can benefit from that.
So did you get what you wanted?
Yes, thank you.
That I got it for a reasonable price. Being a single mom, I was able to get a computer, and I'm in school also to help me with school and my children.
A lot of the volunteers are scientists, engineers, and mathematicians who get hooked.
And I basically did it to learn, and so I've been coming ever since, and it's addictive, mentally addictive.
Even students chip in.
The reason I'm doing this is because I have to do volunteer work. I am learning about laptops, software, and how to diagnose one and how to repair them.
These technicians analyze,
Look, now that just increased time.
untangle, assemble, and repair equipment even when all seems lost.
The tough job is diagnosing the computers and deciding what's wrong with them and why.
If they bring it back and we can fix it in a half hour, we will. If we can't fix it in a half hour, we will usually replace it, but then you lose all your baby pictures and your tax records and whatever if you didn't back them up.
This was the original good floppy drive, the first half-high floppy drive.
Some of the equipment has been retired for good and is stored in what Jerry Rosenkrantz calls his museum.
This is our museum we had, for old time's sake, is a collection of obsolete equipment which has been either donated or picked up at the waste transfer station. Mostly it came in by people saying, can you use this? And we said, well, we can put it in our museum. So for example, we have here the TRS-80 by Radio Shack, which was the earliest mass-produced computer around, back around 1979, 1980. The first Macintosh. Then we have the original monochrome monitors. On top we have predecessors to the PC. Those are Osborne computers. They were like $2,500, and now basically they're scrap. This is something that's kind of died. Hewlett-Packard Pocket PC. Way back when it was a dud on the marketplace. The story I like to give is that you can't get out of the computer store checkout counter with a receipt in your hand before something better is being delivered into the back door.
But Jerry and his volunteers have saved many old computers and printers from going into his museum and into families' homes instead.
These are people that loaded up a computer. It's a family getting a computer, and you know, in general, most of them, it's the first one they're getting. What I heard from at least one of the programs was that a family that gets a computer with a child in school, the kids' letter grades go up. That's what makes me feel. That's what keeps me going.
Even though for Jerry Rosenkrantz, this may take a whole lot of work.
What a day.
Retirement still isn't on the horizon.
Not that I'm just recycling, you know, taking junk and making it usable, but the fact that I'm changing the lives of people.
I'm okay.
We're making a difference.
I just worked up a sweat out there.
To qualify for computers or to donate equipment, contact Project Reboot. This used car lot is a little different than most. These cars have been in accidents, seized because of illegal activities, or abandoned on Montgomery County streets. and occasionally they're donated. But this used car lot may be among the most trusted in Montgomery County.
People now are looking at what these cars are, assessing their value, and seeing if there's anything in here that they may want to buy.
It's the Vehicle Recovery Facility operated by the Montgomery County Police.
And we are going to sell this month's vehicles that the police have seized for numerous reasons, and the owners have either been unable to claim the cars or just refused to. We hold vehicles 30 to 45 days generally, allowing people to claim them. After that period, the law allows us to sell them.
The auction is held the fourth Saturday of every month, and it draws 200 to 300 customers.
At 7:30, you may enter our lot. You go into our main office at the front. You have to have a U.S. any state issued driver's license or identification.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Park over there and go inside.
Okay.
That's acceptable by the Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration. That's a law we have to abide by.
But if they come in with a ID card that has no address or no seal, they don't get in.
We're coming up to this auction for the first time. I'm personally looking for pickup trucks, see what they got here.
Can I get Move on down, please.
The persons inside our office will issue you a bidder number and register you.
Okay. You're going to be bidder number 74.
There is no cost to that, so it's free to come to the auction. Once you have your bidder number, you're allowed between 7:30 and 9 to view the cars that we have available for sale, to see if there's anything you would like, and then participate in the auction.
A bargain, hunting for a bargain.
Yeah, I see something that I like, the Hyundai and the Mercedes and Honda Accord, and I like that. I hope I'll be able to get one.
Trailers, motorcycles, boats, and even this wood chipper are put up for auction. But not everything in the lot is for sale.
Not for sale! Close the door! That's not for sale this time!
The cars come as is, no guarantees, no money back. But Sergeant Snow and his officers will do all they can to give customers a fighting chance.
We want to make sure that there's nothing illegal in the cars that we're selling. No contraband, no monies, anything else.
We've actually had people complain they want to come get their stuff to try to recover their drugs.
These cars have been canine sniffed. We've done pretty much everything we can except totally dismantle the car to make sure it's clean.
These are items that we, unfortunately, typically will recover from vehicles that you are not supposed to have in your vehicle while driving around. They are considered concealed and dangerous and deadly weapons.
It's a 99 Mercedes SUV. This will be attracting a lot of interest as well as bringing some money in on the bidders. It came with a key, which means there was an interdiction by the police. So you pretty much, when you see the K on a car, you know that it was driving at one point. So your chances of getting a bad car is reduced. The 754th vehicle we've seized this year, making sure all the paperwork is correct, all the titling investigations have been done. So we're redoubling our efforts to make sure we've done everything we can to make sure this car is both legally sound to sell, but also that the owner of any possible owner has had every chance possible to get these cars back.
Doug Numbers from Montgomery County's Office of Consumer Protection works with the sergeant to help car owners save their vehicles before they go to the auction block.
And sometimes we have cases where people get towed, have bought cars, things like that, and they have problems getting tags, problems getting, financed or things like that, or maybe, the car breaks down and it ends up here. Well, we've worked with Jim in the past to cut people brakes and get their cars out for them before it gets auctioned off like today, and to help them so they're not looking at a big bill and on top of having problems with a car if we've got a case that we're investigating trying to help the consumer.
We don't post any lists prior to the auction because right up until the Friday evening close, the day before the auction, someone has the right to come and claim their car. And I don't want to put out a list saying this is what we have to sell, and many of those vehicles won't be here.
Make sure you know what you're bidding on. I don't have enough crying towels for everybody if you buy the wrong car.
Selling these cars is the work of the auctioneers.
500 now, 25 and now 50, and 550 bid 75, and 575 to bid 600, dollars to bid 6, 575 to bid $600 to bid 6. Sold them 575.
The crowd moves from one car to another.
Moving on.
Some hold up bidding cards.
Sold them $2,000 your way, sir. Number
58.
is 58.
Others give a nod or a wink when getting the auctioneer's attention.
Now 50, 500, 550, 550.
550, I think is a great deal. I don't know much about cars though, but I think I'll be happy with it.
Justin Gossard and Adele Suleiman are veterans of the auction process. Both say you must have a game plan before you enter the auction.
I only buy Hondas because I've been dealing with them so long. I know what they're worth. I know what the value is for resale, and I know everything about them to work on them, so it's so easy. I own a automotive repair shop. I do all the work on them myself, so I fix everything. I know exactly what to do, and it's easy to turn a profit on them. Everybody's looking for them.
If it's your first time out here bidding on the auction, do your research. Look up the cars. There are many resources online, which is the Kelly Blue Book value, or you can look up on eBay and see what similar cars are selling for. Look, see the process, understand what the auction is all about, and go home, do your research again, and come back the next time, ready to buy.
450 bid 5, $500 at bid 5, 450 to bid.
I just watch him, just nod my head. That's all I do. They know if you're in it or not. Just keep bidding. Just don't let anybody see that you're going to back down, and it usually scares people off. It seems to work for me.
It's 1150. Sold them 1100 this way, number 203.
This crowd gathered to bid on the hottest car in the lot.
It's a 2009 Honda Accord. I anticipate this to draw quite a bit of interest, as well as some high bidding. It does have a key, which is in very good condition. I do know it runs, so someone has the opportunity to have a very nice car here. This is one of the rarer ones. This is one of the nicer ones.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is an 09 Honda. Make sure you have the money before you bid. If you don't have the money, or your credit cards are maxed out, or something bounces, we'll never see you again.
Ever.
Ever.
There was the auction started at about 8,000.
$8,000 $8,082.
And then it kept going.
10, 8, 11, 11, 13, 4 to be 13, $600 to be 13, 6, 15, 1 to be now 2, 15, 2 to be 3, 15, 15, 9, 15, 8 to be 15, 9.
And I kept bidding, and you just keep on going, and at some point they all have a price in mind, and that's when they stop. You can't just get excited about getting something and paying more than what it was. I've seen that a lot happening.
Sold them to you, 16.2. Number is 54.
I looked up the car before I started bidding on eBay.
He don't have the money.
Figured that I will pay up to $17,000, and I was fortunate to get it at this price.
Tags aren't issued for those who purchase a vehicle.
We provide the paperwork that you can get a title through the Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration. You do have to tow the vehicles from here.
It has to be towed or hauled on some kind of trailer or rollback or something. You got to have a dealer tag or a transporter tag to drive it. And then you take it and get it inspected, and then you're good to go.
99 on your Mercedes, little SUV. Is this one right here?
On this particular Saturday, 124 cars were sold, raising over $112,000.
Sold them $24.50.
Adele Suleiman's purchase for $16,200 was the big prize for Adele.
I'm going to get a tow truck to pull it out and take it home. It's a present for my wife.
And for Montgomery County.
It's the auction's receipt. Put a little bit of money back into the Montgomery County coffers. This is a win for Montgomery County.
There's for the one.
For more information on the car auction, contact the Montgomery County Police Vehicle Recovery Unit. David Garcia and Katie Cole are hoping to find a new member of the family here at the Humane Society Animal Shelter in Rockville, Maryland.
Here looking for a sibling for our golden retriever Stella here. Just finding her a friend to spend some time with.
The shelter staff has been finding homes for animals since 1958.
The animals that are brought here come to us as people find strays. Also, if somebody has a pet and their family circumstances have changed for one reason or another, and they find that they're not able to keep the pet anymore, they'll bring the animal here.
Because the county owns the shelter, all animals must be accepted. Most are dogs and cats, but there are also rabbits, snakes, birds, and yes, even a bearded dragon.
Once we've provided the care here, it's a very active effort to get a good match between a new family, or individual as the case may be, and the right pet for their lifestyle and interests.
The animal shelter has counselors who will make sure your new pet is the right fit.
Our adoption counselor will review with you what you need to be able to provide for the animal, and that's going to vary according to the animal's age, health, and your lifestyle. So we're going to take all of that into consideration. If you're somebody who's very energetic and you want to have your pet accompany with you for jogging or lots of outdoor play with the kids, then you're going to want an active kind of pet. If you've got a slower pace, then the adoption counselor will review with you. This animal might be better suited, might make a good lap cat, for example.
To adopt, first you have to fill out an application form. Then there's a telephone interview. And the next step is to have everyone in the home meet the new pet.
You'll have an idea that this is what you're going to have to be able to provide, rather than getting the pet home and being surprised. And then what do you do? So part of our plan is, we really hope that you won't feel like you can't keep the pet because things didn't work out. Our adoption counselors do everything they can to get that to work. If things don't work out, then we want you to bring the pet back here and try again.
Bea Salvanelli adopted 2 cats from the shelter.
These will be my new babies. This is the male, and that's the female. Aren't they adorable? Why here? Because I want to give homes to cats that deserve them.
Megan Clark spends some afternoons here window shopping.
What's his name? Oh, it's number 255. All right.
But before Megan turns a number into a name, she wants to make sure she and her husband are ready to adopt.
I am visiting the dogs. My husband works just down the street, and I meet him for lunch, and then occasionally I come over and I see who's new. But I like to come, say hi, maybe meet one or two. And today I found one that I wanted to actually meet. So I brought him out to the dog yard. They let me visit and bring him out to the dog yard.
The shelter makes sure that all these future adoptees will be as healthy as possible.
Just purring.
The vet is a visiting vet. There are a number of vets that we partner with around the county who come and make visits to the shelter and look over those animals that need a little extra medical attention.
This one had a surgery about 8 days ago for a pyometra, and sutures were there, so but the incision has healed. Beautiful. So I removed the sutures.
Looks good.
Okay.
All right, you're done, sweetie.
See, it wasn't bad.
With animals coming in and out every day, keep maintaining their health is a little bit more challenging. You don't necessarily know right off the bat what's the problem with a given animal. Some of them come in healthy and they do great. Others are more susceptible to illness.
The shelter also provides educational classes for students and other groups, spay and neuter programs to manage the animal population, rabies clinics, and a foster program to take care of animals until they're adopted. So what happens to the pets that don't get adopted? Are they euthanized? Rarely, and only if they have a life-threatening illness or are very dangerous to the community, as in the case of a rabid dog. Otherwise, the shelter works hard to find a home for every pet. 90% of the animals that come into the shelter leave with a family.
And the idea is to help people understand more about what's involved in being a responsible pet caregiver.
Because of that.
Also in this building is the Animal Control Division of the Montgomery County Police,
which has more of a law enforcement role. So if there's an issue with an animal that there's a legal component to it, those animals will be brought in as animal control cases.
Captain Mike Wall is the director of the Animal Services Division.
The main thing that we do is we enforce laws in Montgomery County related to animals.
An animal is considered at large when it's off its owner's property and not on a leash or otherwise restrained. The only exception to that is dogs can be off leash at one of the county's 5 dog parks.
When your pet is 30 feet from you and sees another dog or sees a cat or a squirrel and takes off running, you can holler as much as you want at that dog and it may or may not come back.
Probably the biggest call we get is dog at large. You know, the old standard dog catcher type call, you know, dog running loose without a leash.
But another officer could handle it. That's a flow. That was about a lady, her dog ran at his dog because he started screaming at her saying, "Your dog's off leash, it doesn't belong here."
Having it on a leash, you have physical control so that if that animal attempts to get away, you're holding on the other end of that leash and you can control it from jumping on a person. Hopefully you can control it from getting away, and hopefully you can control it from biting a person.
The law regarding animal defecation, often you hear that referred to in Montgomery County as what's called the pooper scooper law. What it says is that an animal cannot defecate on property outside of the owner's property. The exception to that is it may defecate on public property. That's only as long as the owner immediately picks up, removes, and disposes of the animal's feces.
Some of the things that the division is responsible for, we are the enforcing agency for the county code as they relate to animals and also the state code as they relate to animals. We regulate facilities that provide care for animals. They're required to be annually licensed and inspection with the division, and these include such establishments as pet shops, riding stables, commercial kennels, and grooming parlors where you have your animal bathed and groomed. And one of the advantages of this is that because they're annually licensed and inspected, you can kind of have a reasonable assurance that when you buy a pet from that pet shop that you're going to get a healthy pet. When you want to buy a pet, the key is to do your homework and to do your research, because when you buy a pet, you're buying the pet, or you should be buying the pet for the lifetime of that pet. They become a part of the family and need to stay a part of that family for the entire length of that pet's lives.
In Montgomery County, the law requires that all cats and dogs obtain a pet license. And the benefits are really that when you have your pet license, when one of our animal control officers comes into contact with an animal, when they find an animal at large, they can quickly return the pet home. The tag is really a ticket for your pet to be returned home quickly. We also know that it has its rabies vaccination current because the two are tied together. Any animal bite in the county is required to be reported to the Animal Services Division. And what our officers do is anytime a domestic animal bites or scratches and causes a break in the skin of a person, then we quarantine that animal at the owner's home generally for a 10-day period. After a 10-day period, it is considered to be not a risk and not a possibility that rabies was transmitted. So the first time that a dog, say, bites a person, as long as the bite is not serious and severe, that animal is what we declare that animal to be potentially dangerous. It's considered to be a potentially dangerous animal. And that's in our Montgomery County Code. So what we do is we send the owner a letter notifying them that we are considering their dog to be a potentially dangerous animal. And we put some restrictions on the dog at that time. At that time, the owner is notified that he may only walk the dog on a leash, and it has to be walked by a person that's at least 18 years old and physically capable of restraining the animal. We may add some other restrictions depending on the incident and the severity of the incident.
If you'd like more information on this or any of the work provided by the Animal Services Division, please call 240-773-5960 or go online to mchumane.org. You can also check there to find out about the new facility that's in the works. The Animal Services Division and the Humane Society are working together to build a state-of-the-art animal shelter at the intersection of Muncaster Mill Road and Air Park Drive in Gaithersburg. The expected completion date is spring 2013.